Most gardeners think composting is simple. Throw scraps in a pile and wait. What rarely gets explained is why most piles fail to produce rich, usable compost, or why some piles rot and smell while others thrive. The hidden factor isn't just the mix of greens and browns. It's microbial balance, moisture regulation, and timing. Understanding these elements is what separates a passive pile from a nutrient-rich powerhouse that transforms your soil in weeks instead of months. If you've been frustrated by compost that never fully breaks down or attracts flies, you need to consider not just what goes in, but how it interacts with microbes and moisture. This isn't about shortcuts, it's about creating conditions that let bacteria and fungi do their work efficiently. Before going further, there's a tool that makes this process faster, cleaner, and more consistent: the Ouken 4-liter electric composter. This unit is compact, odor-free, and turns kitchen scraps into microbe-ready compost in days. The link to order is in the description, and if you get it through that link, it helps support these videos so I can keep testing and sharing practical tips. Also, subscribe to my email list for step-by-step guides on DIY gardening, composting, and even woodworking projects. Again, the link is in the description. You don't have to turn your pile constantly to make compost work. Contrary to popular advice, constantly turning your pile isn't always necessary. The real key is controlling moisture and layering materials properly. Compost microbes need contact with air but don't need you to dig them every day. A pile with roughly 1/3 green materials like vegetable scraps, coffee grounds and grass clippings, and 2/3 brown materials like dry leaves, shredded paper or cardboard creates a stable carbon to nitrogen balance. Too much green and the pile smells. Too much brown and decomposition stalls. In practice, this ratio means that for every bucket of green material you add, you should have about 2 buckets of brown. Moisture management is equally critical. The pile should feel like a wrung-out sponge. If it's too wet, oxygen levels drop, anaerobic bacteria dominate, and rot begins. Too dry, and microbes slow to a crawl. A reliable method is to add water gradually while building the pile, checking the moisture by grabbing a handful. If water drips, it's too wet. If it crumbles apart, it's too dry. Covering the pile with cardboard or burlap helps regulate this without trapping excess water. Why location and container choice change everything? A shady spot near your garden is ideal because, extreme sun can dry out the pile, while heavy rain can oversaturate it. Containers help maintain structure, but honestly, they're not strictly necessary. Even a simple wooden frame works if the materials are layered and managed correctly. For faster, cleaner results, I rely on the Ouken 4-liter electric composter, which accelerates decomposition, produces uniform material, and reduces odor compared to traditional piles. It's perfect for serious gardeners who want usable compost in a fraction of the time. What rarely mentioned ingredients supercharge decomposition. Most guides focus only on kitchen scraps and yard waste, but small additions can significantly speed the process. A handful of garden soil or finished compost, introduced at the start, provides an inoculum of active microbes, essentially seeding the new pile with bacteria and fungi that immediately begin breaking down organic matter. Adding eggshells not only provides calcium, but also improves aeration slightly. Coffee grounds are excellent for nitrogen and can help maintain acidity near neutral for most plants. Avoid citrus in large quantities. It slows microbial activity unless finely chopped and mixed thoroughly. So let's talk about how to layer and monitor your compost for those first few weeks. You'll want to start with a base of coarse brown material, think sticks or straw, to create those all-important air pockets. Then, alternate layers of greens and browns, making each layer about 10 to 15 centimeters thick. Lightly water each layer to keep the moisture even throughout. And honestly, resist the temptation to just pile all your kitchen scraps on top without layering. That only leads to compacted zones where water pools and air doesn't circulate, which really slows down decomposition. For the first 3 to 4 weeks, the pile should heat up naturally. If you're seeing internal temperatures between 50 and 65 degrees Celsius, that's a good sign of microbial activity. If the pile never heats, it's usually because it's too dry, too small, or there's an imbalance between greens and browns. Using a compost thermometer can help, but even if you don't have one, just monitoring moisture and layering properly will get you the same results. Now, turning your compost can definitely help, but it isn't mandatory. Turning accelerates the composting process by redistributing moisture and heat, but it's not required for every setup. In larger piles, turning every 2 to 3 weeks will help prevent cold spots and ensure everything breaks down evenly. For smaller bins or electric composters, as long as you maintain consistent moisture and the right ratios, you can have usable compost in as little as 3 to 6 weeks. The Ouken 4-litre unit actually handles the mixing internally, which is why I recommend it to gardeners who want precise and fast results without making things too complicated. Finished compost should be dark, crumbly, and have that classic earthy smell. It shouldn't really resemble the original materials anymore. If there are larger sticks left, just screen them out or toss them into the next batch. You can apply compost directly to your garden beds, mixing it into the top 10 to 15 centimeters of soil at a rate of about 5 to 10 litres per square metre for established beds. For new beds, you can be a bit more generous to really kickstart fertility. Keeping your compost active all year round is honestly pretty straightforward. Maintaining a steady stream of greens and browns ensures your pile never stagnates. I usually keep a small bin indoors or under a shaded bench for kitchen scraps and then transfer them to the main pile or the electric composter. This simple step keeps materials from piling up, minimizes odor, and maintains a continuous cycle of decomposition. During slower periods, adding shredded cardboard is a great way to provide carbon when greens are scarce. Now, let's talk about some common mistakes that can slow down the process. Overcompacting the pile is a frequent error. Heavy foot traffic or overly wet layers prevent airflow, which leads to anaerobic conditions, unpleasant smells, and sluggish microbial activity. Another mistake is ignoring particle size. Large chunks of wood, corn stalks, or squash can take months to break down, so always chop or shred them before adding to the pile. And finally, don't overlook microbe activation. Even with perfect ratios, if your pile is too dry or lacks a bit of microbial inoculum, composting will be delayed. Just add a small handful of garden soil or some existing compost at the start, and you'll be set every time. When it comes to tracking progress and making adjustments over time, I check moisture, layering, and temperature about once a week. If things seem off, I'll adjust the water or add a bit more brown material as needed. In the warmer months, evaporation is higher, so I cover piles or bins to help retain moisture. During cooler seasons, adding extra greens keeps those microbes active and working. Electric composters take a lot of the guesswork out, but even with traditional piles, simple monitoring really does guarantee reliable results. To wrap things up for those of you serious about great compost, making compost at home isn't complicated, but it does require attention to ratios, moisture, and microbial health. That's why piles that are just left alone often fail, while structured, well-monitored setups thrive. Using tools like the Ouken 4-litre electric composter speeds things up, reduces odor, and gives you consistent, high-quality compost that can truly transform your soil's fertility. Layering thoughtfully, monitoring moisture, and adding a little microbial inoculum. These are the practices that separate amateur piles from professional quality compost. If you know someone frustrated by piles that never break down or produce usable soil, do share this video with them. And if you subscribe to my email list in the description, you'll get access to full gardening and woodworking guides, detailed DIY projects, and the exact setup I use to keep compost going all year round. Good soil is the foundation of better food, and when you understand the science behind composting, your garden stops relying on luck and starts producing predictably every season.